Deen is simple, very simple. And we add all these additional things to our deen, this becomes an extreme. We are a balanced ummah. We only practice that which the Prophet ﷺ taught us to practice. Simple. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. And we just act accordingly. The Sahaba alayhim ridwan, the Prophet ﷺ, this is where we get the name Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah from, and we get the word Sunni from Sunni. Understand? Meaning a person who follows Sunnah. Simple. So very, very important for us not to have extremes inside us. So we see the first of this month, it begins with the martyrdom of Umar radiallahu anhu, which we've discussed many times before. And on the 10th of Muharram, like I said, very unfortunate that the martyrdom of Hussain radiallahu anhu, it takes place. And this story, the martyrdom, it's filled with a lot of sorrow, a lot of grief, and deception also. How Hussain radiallahu anhu, being the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is deceived by the people of Kufa, and many letters are written to him for him to come and people accept allegiance on his hands. So this person known as Yazid could be overthrown. Now let's start from the top. We have the likes of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Muawiyah was a great companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And it's important for us to know our history properly. Otherwise we can be fooled and taken astray and taken into the wrong type of belief. Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he's such a great companion that the books of hadith have used him as a narrator. The likes of Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi. Now Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi, this is the most authentic book after Quran al-Kareem. The most authentic book. And for those of us who don't understand what hadith is, just very briefly, there is a chain of narration. Let's say Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi took from his ustad, he took from his teacher, he took from his teacher, all the way up to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Yes? Every narrator, his life is checked. Like, you know, when we call for, in this country, they call you for jury service at times. A person, they nominate a person who's got a very clean record. He's called for jury service. Now someone who's done GBH, someone who's stabbed somebody, someone who's shot somebody, someone who's got done for drugs, they're not going to be calling him for jury service, are they? And I'm just trying to make you guys understand this. So the hadith, when it's taken, you're not going to take a person who's a liar, who's a known liar, he adds his own stuff in. No. You're not going to take it from someone who's got a weak memory. You're not going to take it from someone who's a sinner. Hadith will be taken, especially that, how does, there be people, you probably heard the word sahih and da'if, strong and weak. Where does strong and weak come from? When the narrators are solid narrators, it'll be classed as a strong hadith. But if there's a narrator in there, he's known for slightly weak memory, this will bring weakness in the narration. This is how, just to understand it in short. So Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, all the mufassirun, big ulama, salafus salihin, have agreed upon him being a great companion. Who are we to open our mouths today with regards to Muawiyah radiallahu anhu? This is why I advise people. People ask Islamic names. What Islamic name can we keep? We should try and revive these type of names. The likes of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Now, he had a son called Yazid, who became the Khalifa at the time of Hussain radiallahu anhu. And obviously there were certain things this individual was doing which was displeasing to the likes of Hussain radiallahu anhu. And then the people in Iraq, what they did was, the people of Kufa, they writ to Hussain radiallahu anhu and they asked him to come so they could pledge allegiance to him, do a bay'ah with him. And Hussain radiallahu anhu was made many promises. But I said there was a lot of deception involved. It's very, very important. There's a hadith which comes to mind. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-mu'minu la yakhta' wa la yukhta'. That a believer is not one that deceives. We don't deceive. And a believer is not one who gets deceived. A believer straightforward. Our habit should be very, very straightforward. Today, who do we class as an intelligent person? And this hadith we hear in the khutbah as well. Al-kayyisu man dana nafsahu wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. The Prophet ﷺ defined intelligence for us. You understand? Today we think, jo bol mein zyada tez hai. You understand? Who can speak very, very quickly. We think he's very clever, don't we? Who's cunning, conniving. We think this person's next level. The Prophet ﷺ did not define this as intelligence. He ﷺ, he said, Al-kayyisu man dana nafsa. An intelligent one is the one who controls his desire. Is the one who controls his desire. وَعَمِلَ لِمَا بَعْدَ الْمَوْتِ. And he prepares for the life hereafter. He prepares for the life hereafter. And the person, a foolish one, inshallah, we'll come back to that, we'll explain that. But here we see that the deception was taking place from the people of Kufa in the time of Hussain radiallahu anh, in the days just before. Many letters were sent which built up to the martyrdom of Hussain radiallahu anh. So Hussain radiallahu anh, he leaves Medina and he makes his way towards Iraq for this allegiance, not knowing the deception that will unveil as the journey continues. Hussain radiallahu anh, when he gets there now, the martyrdom takes place on the 10th of Muharram, but there's many incidences which lead up to that martyrdom. Now, according to some scholars, there was a few individuals. I don't want to get too many names involved, because when we add too much names, the story gets confusing. You understand? If I bring the likes of Ibn Ziyad, you understand? And then we bring Yazid, and then we bring Dhil Jawshan, you understand? And many, many other names, then the story becomes confusing. Just to make it very simple for everybody. So there's many, many events that unfold. Now Hussain radiallahu anhu, who was he? He was the son of Fatima radiallahu anha, who was the daughter, beloved daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hassan and Hussain radiallahu anhuma, these two were the grandsons of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He would cuddle these two. He would say, these are my fruits from Jannah, with regards to Hassan and Hussain radiallahu anhuma, the sons of Ali radiallahu anhu, the line of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once again I say that there was differences amongst Ali radiallahu anhu, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Ali radiallahu anhu and Muawiyah radiallahu anhu had their differences. But this is like me sitting, and it happens sometimes, we're sitting and mom is saying one thing and daddy is saying one thing. How many times has this happened? We have the Khalifa of that time, he sends one of the governors in opposition of Hussain radiallahu anhu. And there's a few individuals, there were individuals who were sent, who sided with Hussain eventually, who sided with him and become part of his army. And there was other people who stayed in opposition of the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they did not consider the fact that he was a grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we see that in this, Hussain radiallahu anhu, a time comes now when these events are unfolding, he wants to leave. He realizes that there's deception come from the people of Kufa, which is in Iraq, and he wants to leave from this area. And even these restrictions are put upon him, where he ends up in a place called Karbala. And many people have heard this word. He ends up in a place which is the way towards Sham, towards Syria and Sham of that time, and he ends up in a place called Karbala. Now some ulama have mentioned that in this place, Hussain radiallahu anh there was so much restrictions put on him, to the extent that he wasn't given water. The water restriction was placed upon him. But we see here, subhanallah, how steadfast the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is. He's very steadfast. And the many family members, even children, are with Hussain radiallahu anh, and the female folk are with Hussain radiallahu anh. But even in this predicament, the salah is not left. The salah is not abandoned. Hussain radiallahu anh is steadfast, and the salah is still being prayed. The salah is still being led. He is leading the prayer. He is doing khutbah to his people. He is delivering to his people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So my brothers, Who are we to miss our salah? Now this individual, his family members, they've got children with them, very, very young babies with them. They have the women folk with them. And the salah is not missed. Salah is not abandoned. And he's making dua to his Lord. And he's delivering to his people. And then unfortunately, we see that the history books, they mention that then the attack takes place on the Ahlul Bayt, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with Shia, what you call it, violence, with no remorse, no consideration for the Ahlul Bayt. And then we see Hussain radiallahu anhu is attacked to such a degree that na'udhu billahi min dhalik, the head of Hussain radiallahu anhu is taken away from his body. And then the command is given. Now this, we can't link this to Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Anyone who does this is deceived. We see even to the extent that the command is given, the horses trample over the bodies of those people who are martyred in the grounds of Karbala. And then the head of Hussain radiallahu anhu is presented. And, Ibn Ziyad is playing with the face. And one companion is there and he says, do not play with this, or the lips of Hussain radiallahu anhu, when the head is decapitated. He's decapitated, the head is taken away from the body, and then this individual known as Ibn Ziyad, who was one of those people who commanded the attack on Hussain radiallahu anhu, he's playing with the lips, and one companion speaks up, and he mentions how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he would honor this individual known as Hussain radiallahu anhu. So these are the sacrifices our elders gave for the deen, for truth, for haqq.